Hello and welcome to Food Rebels. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs and live on-air tastings. A show that is dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world, where we celebrate people who challenge the status quo. You know me, I'm the show host, AJ Sharp. I'm a taste expert, food writer, great taste food judge. And with me today, we have our lovely producer, Georgie Parsons, back. Hello, welcome.
Hello. Hi, thank you.
Lovely to have you back in the studio. Georgie and I recorded a show about Christmas cheats, didn't we, just before Christmas? How is your January going, Georgie?
Do you know what, actually? I am loving 2024.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just, last year I feel like I was not in a great place, and this year I'm in a much better place. So, yeah, 2024, here we come.
Do you know, I feel exactly the same. Something feels very different about this
Something
year.
different in the air.
I think we're ready for it. I think we've had 3 really dodgy years, just generally as a nation, and I feel like just the fact that the numbers are even really makes me happy. Do you know what else made me happy? That on Monday, the 1st, the fact that it sat on a 1st, it just made me absurdly pleased that it all lined up beautifully, that the 1st was on a Monday, right at the beginning of the week.
Okay. So we have this debate at home.
Do you?
Does your week start on a Sunday or a Monday?
Mine starts on a Monday.
Mine very much starts on a Monday too, but my husband's apparently starts on a Sunday.
Oh, well, he's very old school then. Very old school. That's brilliant. So are you doing dry January or veganuary, anything like that?
No, I'm not actually. I always find with January, there's always so much stuff left over from Christmas that I actually don't. I think actually February is the better month to start like giving up everything, because we have so much leftover cheese, half-opened bottles of wine and port and, you know, whatever left over. And so I actually find I'm just eating up leftovers for the good first half of January. So there's not much point. So I feel like February, also it's a shorter month, so I feel like you can get through these things better.
I was going to say that. Short month, I think, if you're giving up alcohol. I'm doing what I've been told is actually known as a damp January.
Oh.
So instead of going dry and then accidentally drinking on one evening and feeling like you've ruined the whole thing, I'm just counting the days that I have had alcohol-free days. So if I can get like 25 days out of 31, then that's marvellous.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a sort of positive reinforcement of every day that I managed to do alcohol-free. It's another little tick in my box on my fridge.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's really good. I am feeling so much better. I've got so much more energy. And, you know, lo and behold, who knew if you drink less, you feel better?
I know. It's proven, isn't it? And that's why people do it.
It is proven, exactly. Now, you're the producer. What's the show about today?
Well, we're going to talk about coffee today. And I thought to begin with, we would actually talk about dried coffee.
Okay.
Because we're always talking about beautiful artisan coffee, but I thought actually, you know, a lot of people still drink dried coffee. So I bought in...
By that, you mean instant coffee?
Instant coffee. Yeah, exactly. Instant coffee that you get out of a jar and you just add hot water to. And I thought, we would start with that. So do you drink a lot of coffee?
I do. I have at least 2 a day. But I drink decaf, actually, usually.
Okay.
Mainly because caffeinated coffee, I just don't think I need any more excitement in my life. I'm already wake up pretty excited for the whole thing. So I tend to try and stick to decaf generally, but I love a real coffee. I do.
I mean, I love a real coffee too, and my husband's a real coffee aficionado. So,
but he's got all the gear.
He's got all the gear, but I only drink 1 cup a day, and that's it. 1 caffeinated drink of coffee a day.
Why just one?
Again, I just don't feel like I don't feel like my body needs it.
Okay.
And funnily, I have a milky coffee, and I find I can only tolerate a milky coffees in the morning. If I have one in the afternoon, it makes me feel really weird. So if I drink something caffeinated in the afternoon, I will only drink tea.
This is probably why in Italy and France, they look at you like you have 3 heads if you try and order a cappuccino after lunch.
Yeah.
Like nothing afternoon. I remember this.
It's funny, isn't it? I don't know why, but every time, if I do it, I always regret it straight away. And I go, what? You know, why have I just done that again? I know if I have a milky coffee after midday. So yeah, I really am just a flat white all the way kind of person.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I tend to have a cappuccino or a flat white. I think latte's too much. It's basically a milk drink with a coffee flavouring for me. Yeah. But I know it's a really popular drink. And actually, if I'm really hungry or I've skipped lunch and I've gone somewhere and I think, oh my goodness, I'm really hungry, I'll have a latte because actually
It will fill you up.
it'll fill me up and it'll stop me needing to eat anything for a little while.
Yeah, I totally get that. Well, I was doing some research into coffee and I hadn't quite realised how many things coffee actually helps you with. It can decrease your risk of type 2 diabetes, some cancers, heart disease, decrease risk of depression. It can support your brain health and liver health and improve your digestion. So there are lots of reasons to drink coffee. But the experts are still saying don't drink too much because it can lead to anxiety and jitterness and things like that. So
I've got a friend who's 97 who was in the British Academy of Gastronomes. He's like a food friend. He's a friend of Egon Rone's. He's called Dante Campela. And I remember him once saying to me, he thought that people were angry these days because we all drink far too much coffee. And do you know what? It was something that at the time I sort of chuckled to myself. And then afterwards I thought, actually, do you know what? There's got to be something in it, hasn't there? Buying these great big, tall, huge drinks from Starbucks and places like that. It can't be good for us to drink this huge amount of coffee.
Yeah, and I think, my mum, I remember she used to drink, 10, 12 cups of coffee a day. And actually with the dried coffee we were just about to taste, that's what she was drinking, and it was, because I was looking up the recommended how many scoops you put, and it's 1 teaspoon. But I remember her, making coffee for her with 2 or 3 in, and she was drinking that continuously throughout the day. I think that's why I love coffee, though, because I basically had...
He weaned on it.
Yeah. I basically had latte via my mum. So, yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to tasting these because I think it's going to bring back quite a lot of memories of...
Brilliant. What have you got in here?
So I bought a range of 3 different ones with different price points. The first one is the Nescafe Gold Blend.
Classic.
This one is coming in at the cheapest.
When we were growing up, that was all anyone could have, wasn't it? Nescafe Gold Blend. That was
it.
That was it. That
exactly.
was what was available. It doesn't smell like coffee on the nose at all, does it?
Oh, but it smells like comfort.
It does. It smells like growing up at home.
I'm gonna have a bit of milk in mine because I said I can't really drink mine black.
It's quite malty, isn't it? There's sort of all sorts of aromas on the nose.
And it's quite watery, I think, because I'm used to drinking a shot, a very condensed amount. And I have done this with, I don't drink an Americano, for instance. I imagine if you were drinking Americano, which is more watered down.
My husband drinks Americano all the time. He just has black coffee. And I know if he was making it with granules like this, he'd be putting 2 or 3 spoonfuls
in it. No, that's
because it does taste very watery with just 1 spoonful.
It does taste very watery, and that was interesting because I was trying to I worked out the cost per cup so that we could talk about also how much it would compare this to going out to buy a cup of coffee or even buying cafetiere coffee or grounds or whatever. And using 1 teaspoon, this one's coming out at 16p.
Okay. I mean, I hate to say negative things about it, but to me it's extremely thin. There's really no depth on there. It's got a real bitter note, not in a
nice way.
Not in a pleasant way.
No,
it's almost slightly astringent on the finish. And there really is no finish except for this bitterness down the sides of my tongue that is really lasting. That's really all I've got there. There's not... when you think of coffee, you think of all these different other flavours coming in. And
a richness to it.
And a richness, and you might have fruit notes or chocolate or something. They're really...
No, I agree. It's kind of upsetting my childhood.
I know, I feel sad about that. I feel a sense of loyalty to Nescafe Gold Blend.
So this one is the Littles brand, which have kind of come in to really shake up the dried coffee scene, haven't they?
I love this brand. I met them when I was presenting on the Food Talk show, and Will Little, who hilariously is extremely tall, he came in with a whole range of these different products, and they're just fun. The packaging's fun. They're really shaking up the category. They're really kind of trying to inject a bit of sexiness into it when it's been so dusty for a really long time.
Yeah. And as you said, the packaging, it just jumps out at you. So interestingly, it is more expensive. And they say actually you only use half a teaspoon per serving. But I actually would use a teaspoon. So for half a teaspoon, it's coming out at 20p per coffee. But I think you need 1 teaspoon, more than that, more than half a teaspoon in it. I think you need 1 teaspoon, which means it comes out at 40p. But this one's got hazelnut in it. And It's delicious.
It is
I
delicious,
can
but
actually, I'm drinking this without milk in as well. Because that,
Are you?
yeah. The hazelnut.
It smells sweet on the nose, but it's not sweet on the palate. But there is a real kind of like a hazelnut syrup
vibe to it.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. It's a really interesting.
And I'm not really into flavoured coffees. Like I would never go to a coffee shop and get a syrup added to. But that is...
I'd never get a syrup added. There's just something about the sugar thing that makes me go, oh, no.
No, the only time I do it, though, is sometimes actually, one of those iced coffees when it's really hot in the summer. If you've been to and had like a hazelnut or a caramel in your iced coffee.
I thought you were going to say a big night out. Sorry, carry on.
Don't have any of those anymore.
Yeah, no, nor me. In January.
Then that is really nice in an iced coffee, because iced coffee itself is quite bitter when you have iced coffee. But, I really like that, and that's delicious.
Really good.
It's worth paying a little bit more for a more decent dried coffee, maybe.
Yeah.
And then this one, the last one, is a Costa one. So this obviously is from an actual coffee brand.
Very bitter smelling coffee notes on the nose.
Oh, well, that smells very different to the...
But there is a
Nescafe,
roastiness there.
Yes, there is.
You can smell the roast. You can smell that kind of... Still slightly malty, but there's definitely roasted notes there. That was hotter than I was expecting, even though I just watched you pour from a kettle. What do you think of that one?
It's quite bitter.
The aroma is a lot better.
It's much better.
There's more depth of flavour and there's more finish. I've still got the flavour in my mouth now. Whether or not the flavour is perhaps one that I would have chosen in the first place, maybe not.
Do you like Costa coffee anyway?
No, but I feel like I should support it because it's a British brand. So if there's a choice between Costa and Starbucks, I'll always go Costa.
Me too. Out of the high street, I actually think Costa's
the best.
The best.
The best of the high street.
The best of the high street, for sure.
But if there's ever an independent, even if it looks dodge, I will definitely go into an independent, just out of principle.
I actually, compared to the Nescafe Gold, I actually think that one's nicer.
The Costa's a lot better than the Nescafe, which I'm sorry about Nescafe.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry about too. So that one is in the middle. So that's £3.50 for 100 grams. So that coming out at 19p per cup.
So worth the extra 3p or 5p or whatever it is. Worth going for the Costa then over the Nescafe if you're buying these at home.
Yeah,
I think.
Exactly.
We've got a guest coming in this afternoon, haven't we?
We have.
So shall we meet him?
Yes, let's do that.
So moving on from our dried coffee sort of section, I want to talk about fresh coffee. And we've got Peter Grainger here in the studio, who is the founder of CafePod. Hello, Peter.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about CafePod?
Sure. It's a coffee brand that myself and two friends set up in 2010, 2011. So we've been going for 12 years. And we make a range of fresh coffee products across pods, beans, ground coffee, and we sell them in all sorts of retail like Waitrose, Tesco's, and then through our own website.
Yeah, I know the brand so well. Is it like a Fox?
It is a Fox. It is a Fox.
Cool.
We did a rebrand a couple of years ago, and we wanted something that kind of encapsulated a bit of our essence. And we're a London-based company. The three of us, the three founders, were all from South Africa, so we'd come to London to seek our fortunes, and we thought, what better to kind of encapsulate the essence of London than the wily fox that has a bit of street smarts, finding its way. So that's kind of where that came from.
Everyone in London is drinking really bad coffee. We need to really help these guys. Amazing. This is really cool. So it is sexy. It's got a kind of, is it bronze?
Yeah, it's a kind of a metallic bronze. We wanted something... Funny enough, I wanted something that you could put on a cap or a T-shirt that even if it didn't have the name underneath, you'd kind of recognize something distinctive, something that people might think, that's pretty cool. What is it?
Like the hoodie you're wearing right now, right?
That's right.
On brand.
This is one of the test ones we made against the best wishes of my head of marketing, but
I like
a bit
it.
of experimentation.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really cool. So where does your coffee come from?
So over the years, we've changed where we source coffee from. I mean, all our coffees are blends. We don't do any single origin. We think that blending, like in whiskies or wines or champagne, gives you a balance in the taste profile. So we source coffees from all over the world, Central, South America, Africa, India, Sumatra.
Wow.
We almost don't start with origin. We start with taste, and then we kind of build tastes as almost like a recipe, and then work with the best ingredients we can find to build that taste profile.
And how does that work? Do you go to somebody who brings you the different beans and the different, who makes up that flavor for you, or do you go to the farmer, or how does it work?
We start with the customer, and we kind of start with what do they like to drink and what makes them happy, or more than happy, what makes them go, wow, this is an amazing cup of coffee. So my coffee guy, as we like to call him, John, we've been working together for 12 years. So him and I worked on developing all these blends. And effectively, we just start off with, right, we want something, we kind of describe the taste characteristics, and then he'll go away and work his magic, and then we'll work on stuff. And we'll blind test them and judge them purely on the taste. And he sources quality ingredients, and he's the chef, and I leave him to find what he knows is the best for what we're trying to create, and in terms of the quality of the beans, the sourcing, and the roasting. And then we just work together. And I suppose in a layman's terms, which I try and do as much of the product development from a layman's terms point of view. So I'll taste it in my kitchen and just what's my emotional, instinctive reaction to the coffee.
Cool. You've made us some lovely coffees here, haven't you?
Yeah.
So I think, did you say this one's the Supercharger?
That's Supercharger, so that's our strongest one. It's got a bit more of a punch to it.
We're starting with the strongest.
Well, yeah, if you want to.
Why not? So Supercharger, this is one of your best.
So this is our bestseller.
Why do you think that is?
The taste profile in the UK generally is people like a good, strong cup of coffee. And coffee plays many different roles for different people, but one of the roles is a bit of a...
like a punch in the morning.
A punch, and people like the idea, that's why we called it Supercharger. People like the idea of it as much as the taste. I mean, the taste needs to follow through, but...
that is strong.
It is strong, and people love it. Now, strong coffee's like wine in a way. Some people like red wine, some people like white wine, some people like fruity, some people like more full-bodied, and it just depends. And there is a definitely big cohort of people who like this kind of coffee.
There definitely is. I like a more gentle, fruitier kind of a flavour, but I know that with friends, where I've gone into one coffee shop and I'll see them going into a different one, which I'm not going to name, because the coffee is much more of a kind of a punch. And it's not stronger, is it? It's almost more bitter notes, like a more roasted bean or something.
Yeah, and bitter, it doesn't mean bad. Bitter is, like bitter chocolate. So it just depends on what you're looking for. And I think even for myself, depending if you drink coffee with milk or not with milk, it depends what you're mixing. If you add fat to something, it changes the mouthfeel. So you want a bit of balance. So it depends on just the type of so it isn't a one size fits all.
Also, maybe the time of day.
Absolutely.
You might start with a Supercharger, then you go on to a brunch, and then you have a decaf in the afternoon or whatever it is.
Absolutely. So it depends on, your taste buds are a lot more awake in the morning, so it depends on how receptive you are, and maybe in the afternoon you just want something a bit more mellow. It just depends. I mean, I jump around myself. I don't have one particular type of coffee that I, even the blends that I stick to. I'm kind of just how I feel.
Choosing,
It's kind of like going into a bar. It's like very few people will just drink one thing. Like, what do I feel like?
Yeah. What kind of grape do you feel like today?
Yeah.
Rather than,
I think your morning coffee it's very habitual, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's like, when I've tasted this taste, I know that I'm ready to get my shoes on and walk out the door. It's almost the last thing you do. And if people are doing the atomic habit stacking thing, which we're all trying to do, it's one of those things. It's like Pavlov. You're properly conditioned by this flavor. This flavor means this. Yeah, I'm ready for my day now. I've had my coffee, kind of thing.
Funny enough, when we first started the business, the three of us had never worked in coffee before, so we didn't know what we didn't know. And I did the customer service and replying to all the emails, and we very quickly learned that coffee is very, very, very important in people's lives. And if you mess with their morning coffee routine, it's like you killed their firstborn. It is that
I totally
serious.
agree. I totally
So
agree.
we learned early on that actually don't mess with that and make sure that what you promise is what you deliver.
Yeah.
And if anything, try and exceed expectations, because if you can set people up like that.
And this is a bold coffee. You know, some people with, you know, the pods, because you're actually having relatively small amount of coffee compared to
Yeah.
if you went to a coffee shop. This is going to pack a full punch, isn't it? This
Yeah.
supercharger.
Yeah, because that's only one pod, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
that tastes like if you've put 2 pods in
It does.
of another, you know, another coffee. So
It's an intense coffee.
yeah. It's delicious.
It doesn't mean it has more caffeine. It's just how it's being roasted and the choice of beans has that intense flavor.
And it's got that beautiful. I used to work at Pizza Express, and I remember being trained on the machine, and you wanted a scummy top.
Yeah, the crema. Yeah, people.
crema
It's a people interpret it as a signal of quality.
Yeah.
But again, it does contribute to the mouthfeel. So
Yeah.
if you're drinking espresso like I am at the moment, it kind of coats your mouth and it just gives you that luxurious feel when you're drinking it.
Absolutely, I'm always looking for that creamy top. That to me is like, yeah, this is a nice coffee. And what's the other one you've made?
So the other one we've made is one called Brunch Blend, which is a little bit more every day.
Much
Yeah,
more
this is
gentle.
more-
Yeah, it's so that's we wanted to make a coffee that you could literally drink all day.
Yeah.
When you're finishing it, you just want another one. Like
Yeah, that
was
is really nice.
That was the test of, do I want another one when I finish this, or I think I'm okay.
So how do you make coffee decaf?
There's a number of methods, depending on the, I suppose, producer you work with. There's through osmosis gas or water, but effectively you're extracting the caffeine out and just leaving everything else behind.
Is it cold water extractions? One of the ways,
Yeah,
isn't
Swiss
it?
water.
Swiss water. That's it.
That's it. And it just depends on which producer you work with. Interestingly, decaf has become massively popular since COVID. It's literally exploded.
Interesting.
It's almost kind of mapped on the same journey as the kind of low and no alcohol trend.
Really?
I think people from being locked inside probably drank more coffee than they would normally, become a bit more aware of it. So
I literally went decaf. I'd gone to my doctor and said, I've got these recurrent headaches. I'm really struggling with it. The doctor was like, just drink less coffee, because I think, let's start there. And I said, oh, yeah, I have a cup of tea and I have probably 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day. He's like, that's a lot of caffeine. Maybe stop. So I stopped except for the cup of tea in the morning, and I'd gone back and said, I've still got these terrible headaches. And he's like, no, all the caffeine. So now everything, the tea bags, the coffee. And once I'd done it properly, it was about 4 days later of even more excruciating headaches, and then suddenly
withdrawals.
of withdrawals. I mean, literal withdrawals. So you've got to be careful with this stuff. It's actually quite strong, isn't it?
It is. And what's been great over the last couple of years is the fact that the quality of decaf available on the market has jumped. Because effectively you can decaffeinate any coffee, but because the demand wasn't where it is today, people weren't decaffeinating as good a quality coffee as they're doing now. So as the demand's picked up, people have decaffed better coffees, which means you can get a better decaf coffee.
Because wasn't there a health scare about the fact that you're using quite harsh chemicals to make a coffee decaffeinated?
I think some of the processing methods probably could have done with services from yourselves in terms of a better PR representation. I think each method has its pros and cons. Coffee goes through fairly rigorous health checks and all those kind of checks. So I'm pretty confident that if something was wrong with it, they wouldn't allow
It to go through.
the tens of millions of people to drink it.
We haven't got a lot of time left, but I would really like to try the decaf ones. Is that okay?
Sure.
Brilliant. Thank you, Peter. He's just whipped up some decaf coffee for us.
Great.
Thank you. I love this brunch. It's so... Oh, that's lovely.
Really nice.
That's lovely. There's fruit flavours in there as well.
It's really smooth.
You get the roast on the nose.
Yeah, it's really smooth.
I'm a decaf convert. 4 or 5 years ago, I was arguing internally, like, why are we even selling decaf? Who drinks this stuff?
Yeah, what's the point of it?
And now I drink as much decaf as I do
No more.
just want to keep drinking coffee all day. So why should I stop because of the caffeine? I still,
Right.
if the flavor's there, if you've got something that tastes good, why not? So which means I can kind of just keep drinking all day.
And you've got some really lovely looking flavoured coffees here as well.
Yeah, we decided a couple of years ago to introduce a few of them. Everybody likes a little bit of a guilty pleasure in the afternoon, and we introduced a hazelnut one and a chocolate one, and then a vanilla one and a caramel one, and our latest one is it's kind of a cinnamon-based one, which is our gingerbread, which is my favourite.
That's what I'm
you've got.
tasting right now.
What does it taste like?
It tastes like gingerbread.
Does it?
Yeah.
It's like a biscuit.
It is like a biscuit, a coffee biscuit. But the cinnamon is really coming through, and I do love cinnamon. So
It's got, if you associate positive things with cinnamon, it just
it's warmth and Christmas, and lovely.
And interestingly, when we launched this, what people were saying is one of the pieces of feedback was that people were using this in the afternoon instead of having like a chocolate or something like that. So they actually saw it as a positive substitute or a 0-calorie substitute for having that
For
little
that
treat.
sweet little hit.
So it's giving them the hit without the
sugar.
Yeah. So
I've got the caramel one here, and it's really interesting because when it poured, I got this big waft of really sweet caramel kind of syrup smell, and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And actually, now I'm drinking it, it's not sweet, but there is a caramel. There's really clear caramel notes there. There's a really sweet caramel note on the nose, but actually, although it is sweet on the palate, I think it's sweet because the nose is smelling the sweetness, and it's kind of tricking you into thinking that there's more sugar in it than there actually is.
the brief for all the flavored ones were we wanted adult flavored coffees, not children coffees.
Yeah.
Which often you can get wrong and be overly sweet and just taste like a milkshake kind of thing. So we wanted coffee forward with some of that just hint of whatever flavor it is, but you're actually tasting the coffee and you're going, wow, this is good coffee, and I like that there's a little bit of a cinnamon or a caramel hit.
It's just a little hit. It's lovely. It's really like after a meal or something, absolutely delicious.
I can see also what you were saying about how it would take over having a bar of chocolate or whatever. You could have your
Just a
little
little bit of a hit.
It would confuse your brain.
Again, like flavored coffee, I wasn't drinking it at home, and now that we make them, I go through a lot.
So much. I'm enjoying this so much more than I thought I was going to. When you said
Good.
I've got a caramel coffee,
Good.
I was like, I'll try it.
Yeah.
But probably not going to. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's delicious. So that's a lovely surprise. I can't believe it, but we've come to the end of the show. We've had so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a
Peter.
pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
CafePods, where can people buy them?
So you can find us in Waitrose and Tesco's, and if you're shopping online at Ocado or our own website, which is cafepod.com, and Amazon.
Awesome. And they're these kind of sexy dark blue boxes with kind of bronze fox on the front.
On the front.
Foxy. Oh, and thank you to Georgie, our producer, who has joined us for this show. Thank you so much for coming to co-host with me. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to subscribe and rate us 5 stars if you think we're good. It makes a huge difference to our podcast. We're also available on Instagram at food_rebels_. Give us a follow. If you'd like to come on our show, send us a DM. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you taste the rebellion.